The nice lady reminding us that it's being recorded. So we're going to start with some pratyahara, some grounding. So we will start lying down today, and we're going to be doing Hatha Yoga today. So this is where we kind of focus on the breathing and holding the poses for a little bit longer than we might do, like say, in a vinyasa class. So it's going to be really trying to become aware of the breath and being aware of what your body wants today. So just a reminder that obviously yoga isn't about what your body can do. So I really would encourage you and invite you to listen to what your body wants today. So although I'm going to be giving cues throughout the session, think of those as invitations and just try out. So if I say, why don't you just try like rolling your elbows inwards or something, give it a try and see how it feels. So that doesn't mean that that's an instruction that you have to follow. So just feel your way into the poses. Okay, so I'm just going to check that everyone is muted. And just feel free to make your way down to your mat. So don't worry, I've muted everybody, so you don't need to worry about that. And we're just going to come to lie on our backs in Shavasana. So if you know Shavasana, you can find your way there. And we're just finding a nice comfortable position, supported by the ground, with the palms up, the creases of the elbows towards the sky, feet a bit wider than hip width, maybe mat width apart, and bringing your chin into your chest slightly, just tucking in so that we've got some length in the neck there. So here in Shavasana, we don't have to do anything with the body. We can just let the body be still and really begin to feel the weight of your body on the mat. Feeling the contact of your soft skin and body on the supportive ground below. Allow the eyelids to close. And finding heaviness in the body. As you breathe in, feeling the diaphragm pushing the belly out as the lungs fill with air. And as you exhale, really allowing yourself to melt into the ground, completely surrendering, completely relaxed and heavy. Nothing to do but just be here and breathe. I'm going to introduce some counting into the breathing here that you can bring through the practice today. So we're going to inhale for a count of 4. So inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhaling 2, 3, 4. So allowing the in-breath and the out-breath to be of equal length. And if Ujjayi breath is in your practice, then you could maybe do that. So it's like a breath where we close the glottis in the throat and you have a breath that sounds a bit like ocean waves. Otherwise, just keeping that even breath. So as we inhale, we count 4. And exhaling, allowing the breath to trickle out. I'm beginning to now find lightness in the body. So yoga means union. So it's this union of lightness and heaviness, of stability and ease in the body. So begin to move your toes. Find some lightness and movement in your toes. Find movement and lightness in your fingers and your wrists. And then bring your feet so that they're flat on the floor and your knees are pointing towards the sky. You're going to pick up your heels and roll through the arch of the foot, lifting the heels and coming on to the balls of the feet and the toes. And then rolling back through the feet and lifting the toes. So rolling through the foot, so we're bringing some mobility into the ankle joints here, lifting the toes, resting on the heels, and rolling back through, lifting the heels. Just do this a couple more times. And you can do this with the breath if that works for you, synchronizing the breath with the movement. I'm going to take your palms and place them down on the ground in a T shape. We're going to take the knees and drop them to the back. So trying to keep your shoulder blades and your shoulders glued to the floor, taking your knees to one side and looking the opposite side. Inhaling the knees back to center, exhaling to take the knees to the opposite side and look to the opposite direction. Inhaling to lift the knees up, exhaling to drop them over. So getting some mobility in the spine as we inhale the knees up, and stretching the lower back and the thoracic spine as we exhale over. We'll just do this 2 more times on each side. So we inhale to come up, exhale to drop the knees. You might also feel a little stretch on the outer hip, the hip abductors. And we're also mobilizing the neck as we move it from side to side. So when you've finished, bring in one of your knees in towards your chest. So hugging your knee in towards your chest, holding onto the shin, and allow the other leg to slide out. We're going to take this leg and draw circles with the knee. So imagine that your knee is drawing circles on the ceiling and you're rotating your knee. So we're getting some movement into the hip here. Clicks and pops are good. You're getting the synovial fluid moving around. And draw those circles with your knee as big as you can. And then changing directions. So we bring the knee into a clockwise or an anti-clockwise direction depending on what we were doing before. Trying to keep the opposite hip on the ground, so seeing if we notice that it's lifting, making an effort to press that hip into the ground. And then placing the foot back on the floor, taking the other leg, hugging that thigh into the chest and extending the leg outwards. We're going to do the same on the other side, so drawing a circle, taking the knee out, to the side, down, across the other leg, back up towards you, drawing these big circles. And you can keep that palm pressing in to help with your stability. So big corners and big circles. I was thinking of the corners of the globe, which doesn't make sense, but if you could think of like north, south, east and west, and changing directions. So if you think of the compass points and you're trying to touch all of them as you draw these big circles, mobilizing the hip. Okay, giving both knees a hug, lifting your upper shoulders, your upper back, your shoulders, bringing your chin in towards your chest, giving yourself a little hug. And we're going to start rocking. We're going to rock back and forth. And then coming up to a seated position. So we're going to find ourselves cross-legged here. And we're going to do a bit more spinal mobility. Now take your arms out so that they're horizontal with the ground, and we've got our arms like a cactus. So lifting the palms so they're facing forwards, showing off your beautiful biceps. And we're going to twist down towards the right hand side. So inhaling to lift the spine up and away from the hips, crown of the head forward, but allowing the chin to be slightly tucked in. So we're also lengthening the neck. We're going to exhale and rotate down towards the right knee, seeing if you can keep that left buttock on the ground. Inhale to come back up. Exhale, folding down over the left knee, keeping the right buttock down. Inhale to come up. Exhaling to fold over the right knee. Inhale up. Exhale, fold. One more time on each side. So we inhale up. Exhale, fold. Inhale back to our cactus or goddess arms and fold. So we're now going to open and close the arms. So taking a deep inhale here as we squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other, engaging those muscles in the upper back, the traps, the delts, the rhomboids. Exhaling, bringing the palms together, mobilizing the shoulder joint. So we inhale and open, exhale and return to center. We'll do this 5 times in total. So inhale, open, exhale, close. Being aware of the sensations of breathing as you do this and keeping the chin slightly tucked in. So making this your last one. And we're just going to come onto our hands and knees then and do some cat-cows. So finding yourselves with your knees under your hips and your wrists under your shoulders, checking that our first finger is forward. So having a look, that might help. And you can try bringing the creases of your elbows into to point towards each other as well, because that can help to prevent you locking in the elbows, which is what I tend to do. So we're going to inhale to look forward and lift the tailbone at the same time. So we're extending the back here. Exhale to lift the belly button and push through the hands. So pushing the shoulders away, feeling that stretch in the back. And inhale to look up and forward. Lifting the tailbone, feeling that lovely stretch and trying to make that stretch even along the spine, noticing if you feel it any more in one place than another. Exhaling, rounding the spine into angry cat. Inhaling back to cow, looking up, lifting the spine. One more time, rounding the spine. And then allowing the shoulders to come closer towards the ears and feeling that stretch in the back. Bringing the big toes together, take your knees slightly wider, and we're going to bring the buttocks back towards the heels and find ourselves in extended child's pose. So just allow the heart to melt down here towards the ground. So coming to sit, bringing your knees together, sitting in a kneeling position. Taking a big stretch up, placing the hands down in front of you and tucking the toes underneath. We're going to just roll up through the spine this one time. So walk the hands towards the feet, keeping the knees bent to protect the lower back. And then we're going to roll up. So you can keep your hands by your thighs and your head and neck should be the last thing to come up. And we roll the shoulders up, back and down to find ourselves in Tadasana. We might want to take a walk to the front of your mat. If you're like me, if you're at the back of your mat. So we're going to find ourselves at the front. So stay where you are, but I'm just going to turn towards you and show you our Tadasana. So it looks like a simple pose. We're just standing here, but this is a foundational pose. So here we draw the shoulder blades a little bit towards each other. We engage our abdominal muscles and our glutes. We lift up through the quads, so we engage the thighs a little bit. And maybe have a little feeling around in the feet. So we've got our palms and creases of our elbows facing forwards and find the ground. So maybe allow the knees to soften a little bit. So we're lifting the kneecaps, but keeping a softness so we don't want to lock the knees out. We gaze straight ahead. And this is our mountain pose. So notice what your breathing is doing in this moment. Has your breathing become a bit more shallow? Is your breathing coming all the way down into your belly? So using this pose to reconnect with what's happening with the breathing before we begin our sun salutations. I'm going to demonstrate the first sun salutation for you and then I'll come through it with you. So we're going to begin by inhaling to extended mountain. We exhale down to forward folds. Inhale. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, Exhale, inhale, exhale. And I missed out a lunge twist, and then find ourselves here. So just a little preview to save you looking at the screen the whole time, but I missed out a little lunge twist that we're going to do. So from Tadasana, mountain pose, we inhale, bringing the palms of the hands up towards each other. I'm going to exhale, keeping the back flat, taking the arms wide and bending the knees lots and lots, and letting the hands touch the ground, bringing the belly towards the thighs, letting the crown of your head hang. So maybe try nodding the head, really letting the crown of the head hang down. Inhale to place the hands on the shins. Draw the shoulder blades towards each other here and open the chest. Is everything okay there? So we're in flat back, and then we're going to step back into our lunge twist. So step one leg back, place the palm of the hand down and lift up the opposite hand. And place the knee down if you need to. So we're doing a nice spinal rotation here, and then place the hand back down. We're going to step backwards into our downward facing dog. Now, if you've got blocks and you've got shoulder problems, then what you can do, and just so those of you who know downward dog, you can carry on as normal and I will cue you. But if you have any shoulder problems, blocks can be helpful here. So placing your hands on the blocks, but try having your first finger forward. We're going to spend a few breaths here in our first downward facing dog. Don't worry about the knees being straight, the legs being straight, or the heels coming down towards the ground. Really focus on extending the spine here in downward facing dog. So this is to elongate the spine. So again, you can think about bringing the back ribs, the shoulder blades towards each other. And if you'd like to, start to work the hamstrings, pedaling the feet. So bringing each heel in turn down towards the ground, looking through towards the knees. And then coming to stillness, bringing the chest through towards the thighs, looking between the feet or the knees. Then we're going to inhale and roll through to plank. Option here is to have the knees down in plank position. And we're going to bring the knees, untucking the toes, chest and chin down to the ground. Ashtanga Namaskar, knees, chest, chin. Inhale with shoulders by our hands by our shoulders, elbows by our ribs, and using the upper back to come into baby cobra, Bhujangasana. So shining the heart forward here. And then we're going to push through, coming back, so coming onto the knees, tucking the toes and lifting into downward facing dog. Lift your back leg into the air for three-legged dog. Then we're going to take that leg and step it through between the hands, finding ourselves in low lunge with the chest down on the thigh. Inhale to lift up, come onto the fingertips. So we're lifting the chest now. Acknowledge that back leg, and we're going to step through back into forward fold. Lift your breath, taking the arms wide up overhead into extended mountain pose, or have the hands here if you need to, if you've got shoulder problems. Exhale down into forward fold. Inhale to lift. Stepping back into plank, into our lunge twist with the other leg. And placing the palm down, opening up towards the bent leg, opening up towards the front leg. Placing the hand back down and coming into downward facing dog. So again, think about lifting the hips and lengthening the spine. Use the palm of the hand like a suction pad. So we're powering through the arms here, and allow the shoulders to drop away from the ears as you soften the ribs, bringing them closer towards each other on the back of the body, finding space in the back of the body. And we're going to roll through with an inhale to plank position. Knees, chest, chin, or option to float down into Chaturanga Dandasana, so we can float down halfway, keeping the elbows in by the ribs, And take a back bend so we can stay with cobra as we did before, or you might wish to try up dog. So here in up dog, our arms are straight, knees and hips are lifted, and chest shines through. So option is here in baby cobra. Tucking the toes, coming back into downward facing dog. And stepping through that hand between the legs, chest down on the thigh. Inhale to lift the chest, feel that stretch in the groin, bring that back leg through. We find ourselves in forward fold again. Releasing here and then lifting with the breath, hands up to the sky. And we're going to go through with just one breath on each pose this time. So we inhale up, exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift, shoulder blades together. Exhale, back into our lunge. Inhale to open. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale to roll through to plank. Exhale down to the ground, knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. Inhale, back bend. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, step through to lunge and lift the breath. Exhale, bring the feet together, forward fold. Inhale, arms up to the sky. And we're going to do our final round of Surya Namaskar, sun salutations. Exhale, forward fold. Knees bent. Inhale, pulling the shoulder blades towards each other. Exhale, fold. Opening up to our spine, our spinal twist in this lunge. So low lunge, stepping the leg back, lifting the arm high. Exhaling back to downward facing dog. Lengthening the spine as we exhale. Inhaling, rolling through to plank. Exhaling down in the method of your choice. And inhaling up to whatever back bend you choose, cobra or up dog. Inhale, exhaling, tucking the toes back to downward facing dog. Bend the legs and then stepping through. Inhale to lift the chest up and feel the stretch in the groin. Exhale to find forward fold. Inhale all the way up to the top. Exhale to come back to Tadasana. So hopefully you're feeling warmer and more mobile now. So come to face the long edge of your mat now. We're going to move into our standing strength and balances. So inhale and take the palms out wide, arms horizontal to the floor. I'm going to have a sip of water because it's a bit warm. So actually, if you need to do that, then do take a moment. Anytime you need to stop and have some water, do so. You can always come back to Shavasana or Child's Pose as well, because it is quite warm again today. So we're going to take our arms out wide and just have a look and see if your ankles are underneath your wrists, because that's the width we're looking for with the legs here. Okay, so picking up the right foot, I'm rotating the toes, so we're turning the toes so they're facing towards the right edge of the mat. The edge of the left foot should be parallel with the edge of the left of the mat. So taking a look out over those fingertips, keeping the torso facing this way. Take an inhale. As we exhale, we bend that front leg, bending the right leg and sinking down. So we're stretching the groin here, opening the chest and the shoulders. This is a strengthening pose, warrior two. So breathing here, if you're doing that Ujjayi breath, seeing if you can keep the breath even in this pose. Powering up through the back leg, acknowledging the outer edge of the back foot, making sure that the knee is out over the toes, so the front knee, just checking that we are externally rotating slightly there. And we're going to inhale and turn the palm up and come into reverse warrior. So reaching down the back leg, and we're doing it with side flexing the spine here. So keep breathing, feeling that stretch, staying in the legs. And we're going to exhale and take the forearm to the front thigh and take the arm over. So here, I want you to try and open up your armpit a little bit. So see if you can bring your armpit so that it's facing towards the front. So our torso is still facing forward. You may be able to reach down to the ground here. Otherwise, forearm is absolutely fine. So, okay, so we're going to straighten that front leg now and find the ankle or the shin and take the top arm up to 12 o'clock. So our arms are roughly at 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock. So we straighten the front leg. So both legs are straight lines in triangle pose. And if you can, if your balance is good, then you might want to look up to the top hand. Squeeze the glutes. So we've got a nice line here. So yeah, I'll just stay here. So this is good for stabilizing the pelvic girdle and the shoulder girdle. Good for balance. Okay, now lifting up. So with an inhale, bend the front leg and find yourself back in warrior two. We're going to step towards the other end of the mat. In fact, I'm going to step towards my other end of the mat because I can show you, but you can stay where you are. So we're going to do Nattarajasana now. That's Lord of the Dance pose. So we find ourselves, we set up for this in Tadasana, so finding that grounding in the feet, engaging the legs, the abdominals, opening the chest, so taking a shoulder roll, opening the palms to the front, and taking a nice breath here. So acknowledging your right foot, begin to bring the weight into your right foot. So begin to maybe begin to lift the left foot slightly. And what we're going to do is lift up the left foot. So see if you can reach back and clasp the inside of your left foot. Now you can place a hand on a thigh here, and if this is good for you, and if you're worried about balance, find something like a wall to hold onto or a chair or something so we can do this. So what we're going to be aiming for is to take the hand out with the palm facing down, and we're going to lift that knee up towards the sky. So this is a back bend and a hip opener. So this might not be you today, it can take time to build up to this. So if we're building up, you can try placing the hand on the thigh. I'll come at an angle here. You can try placing your hand on your thigh and just start to think about lifting the leg upwards. And maybe you can tilt forwards a bit. If you've got that with your hand supported on your thigh, you might then try lifting your palm. And keep breathing. So what's your breath doing now? Excellent. Okay, and releasing the pose when you're ready. Coming back to Tadasana. And we're going to step the left leg about a meter back. And we're going to turn the left foot out, so that back foot out. So our right toes are pointing forward, left toes are out at an angle of about 20 degrees. I'll show you from this direction. So our heels are aligned, so just check that your heels are in a nice straight line down the mat. And then take your hips, so take your pelvic bones and turn them forwards so that it's like you've got headlights. So I'm going to inhale to bring the shoulder blades back. We're going to lift the spine up, away from the pelvic girdle. So inhaling and imagining that you're dangling by a string here, your spine. Tuck in the chin slightly. And on an exhale, we're going to lean forwards from the hip. So we tip from the hip. Have a micro bend in that front knee to avoid locking it if you need to. Now this might be you with your chest parallel to the ground. It might be that you can come down further and place your hands on the floor and bring your nose close to your knee. If you are in that position and that's comfortable for you, you could try bringing your hands into reverse namaste, which is where we reach around and bring the hands to meet each other with the palms facing towards each other. So this is a really lovely stretch for the hamstrings. And reverse namaste opens the shoulders as well. Allow the crown of the head, if you're down on towards your leg, allow the crown of the head to simply move towards the ground. And keep breathing. Exhale to release the hands if you're down in reverse namaste. Place the hands back on the hips wherever you are. And inhale, bending the front leg to come back up. Bringing the feet to hip width apart. And then just folding forwards again, grasping each opposite elbow. And we're finding ourselves in dangling pose, ragdoll. And you can have a little swing from side to side if you like. Don't forget to keep the knees nice and soft, really allowing them to bend. Imagine that your upper body is like a pendulum that's swinging from the pelvis, letting the crown of the head relax. And then we're going to bring ourselves back up to standing. We're going to do that all on the other side. So inhaling, taking your arms out wide. Right foot, edge of the right foot in line with the right edge of the mat. Left foot, toes pointing out towards the short edge of the left mat. Taking a look out over your left fingertips. Inhaling, exhaling, sinking down. So taking that knee out over the toes. So we take the knee, so you feel a little groin stretch there as you do that. Powering up through the back leg, really acknowledging the back edge of your right foot. So we want to be pressing equally between both legs. So when we have more emphasis on one leg, sometimes the back leg can get left behind. So we think about pushing up through the earth. Now you might find that as you push through the feet, you get a sense of uplift in this pose. Keep breathing. One more deep inhale down into the belly. Exhale. And as we inhale next, we're going to turn the palm and come into reverse warrior. So reaching your hand down the back leg, reaching the top arm up and over with side bend in the spine. See if you can stay low in the legs. And on an exhale, we're going to come over, bringing the forearm to the left thigh. And I'm going to take an inhale and open the chest and see if you can bring your shoulder back a little bit. See if you can rotate the shoulder back slightly. An alternative is to take the top hand and find your hip. So find the left hip. So you can take your right hand and find the left, and that will open up the shoulder for you. You might be able to come down to the ground with the hand and keep reaching, finding length here. So if your arm is up, then we want to be looking for a straight line from the right hand to the right foot if we can. And we're going to straighten the left leg and come into triangle pose. So arms at 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock if that's possible. Otherwise you can just rest your arm where it needs to be. Finding the shin, the ankle, all floating. And if you can, taking a look up towards the right hand. Squeezing the glutes to draw them in. Using the core muscles on the front and the back of the body to stabilize us here. In extended triangle pose. Bending the front leg and finding ourselves back in warrior two. We're going to step to the front of the mat. And we're going to try Nattarajasana, Lord of the Dance pose on the other side. So remember, find a chair, a wall, if that feels like something that will be supportive to you. And we're going to find ourselves into Tadasana, so feet hip width apart. And we're going to be standing on the left leg this time, so I'll stand this way. So acknowledging your right leg, acknowledging the leg that you're standing on, and grasping, actually I've got it, so doing the opposite side to last side. So we're going to take the foot with this hand on the same side and bring your foot into a little bit towards your bum. Place your opposite hand on your thigh and start to tip forwards. And as you tip forwards, so you can press your hand and your foot together. So pressing your foot into your hands a little as you tip forwards, bending that front knee. So we're bending the front leg. And then if you are in that position, you might be able to take your front hand out and gaze directly ahead. Wobbling is good, it's the body's way of stabilizing us. So keep grounding through the big toe mound. And coming back down. Well done, lovely. So we're then going to step back with the right foot this time. So we're going to stretch the hamstrings on the left leg. So place the hands on the hip, nice and tall, shoulder blades back and towards each other. Inhaling. We take our back foot out by about 20 degrees, check that the heels are in alignment, and then take our headlights and shine them forwards. So our headlights on our hips. So taking an inhale, lifting the spine, and keeping that length in the spine as we exhale forward. So parallel to the ground might be you today, or it might be that you can bring your hands towards the ground and your nose towards your knee. Again, option here for reverse namaste, or grasping the opposite shoulder behind your back. So working with what your body wants today, remembering that yoga isn't about what we can do with the body, but having a sense of curiosity about what the body needs. I'm just listening to that. That's the most important thing. Breathing deeply. Allowing a sense of release in this pose. And then if you're down with your hands behind your back, allow your hands to come back down towards the ground. Drop the head. And prepare bending the front knee, placing the hands on the hips and inhaling to come back up to a standing position. Bringing the feet hip width apart. And we're going to come down, bending the legs into our dangling pose. We'll have a little swing from side to side here. So coming back up, inhaling the arms up, and finding ourselves in Tadasana. We're going to come down to the ground in a moment, so I'm just going to have a sip of water. Feel free to do the same. But we've done the hard standing strength and balance stuff, so well done. We're now going to do some floor work. So when you're ready, finding yourself on your hands and knees, maybe taking your knees a little bit behind your hips. So normally we have our hips underneath, but you could take your hands in front a little bit. So taking like a wide tabletop. And we're going to tuck the feet underneath and push back into downward facing dog. So we're going to hold this dog for a little while. So bringing the shoulders away from the ears, lifting the hips high, and really think about lifting the hips high and pushing into the hands, so pushing the ground away with the hands, and see how that lengthens the spine. It's okay to have the knees a bit bent here, don't worry about that. Really focus on the back here, bringing the shoulder blades towards each other. And just move it, like just adjust your body in whatever way you need to. So try changing the rotation of your shoulders slightly to make you feel more comfortable. Try putting the first finger forwards. You could try taking your hands slightly wider. See what that does. So just having a little sense of curiosity here. Deep inhale. Exhale, bringing the chest through towards the legs. Another inhale. As we exhale, bringing the knees down towards the ground. Bring the big toes together. Knees a little bit wider. Allow your forehead to rest on the ground. And reach back and grasp the outer edges of your feet. So we've got a nice rounding in the back here, bringing the buttocks towards the feet. So child's pose, Balasana. I'm just going to rest here in center for a few breaths. So we can do that breathing in to 4 and exhaling for 2, 3, 4. We're going to take our hands back out in front of us and find ourselves lying prone on the floor, so lying on our belly with the soles of the feet facing up, palms of the hands facing in towards the body or up. And we can just have the forehead on the ground for now. So bring your inner ankles together and roll your thighs in towards each other. So rolling the thighs in towards each other and keeping the ankles touching each other as well. So we're going to inhale and lift the upper body. So inhale and lift the body. So we're squeezing the bum, the lower back, the upper back, rolling the shoulder blades towards each other, keeping the ankles together and chin slightly tucked in, and bring your gaze towards your third eye. So imagine that you could look between it, just above and between your eyebrows as you keep your chin a little bit in. So we're elongating the neck by doing that. Take an inhale here. Maybe you can lift a little bit more. And exhale, releasing back down. So again, bringing your ankles together, rolling your thighs in towards each other. You're going to inhale and lift the ankles and the knees and the thighs if you can from the ground. You can keep the lower body down, or you might also wish to inhale and lift the upper body into full Shalabhasana or locust pose. So again, chin slightly tucked in. Keep activating the glutes, rolling the thighs in together. This will help to protect the lower back. And this is a strengthening, invigorating pose. And exhale to release slowly and gently back down to the ground. And we're going to find ourselves back in child's pose. So bring your hands to underneath your shoulders and come back via the knees into child's pose. Bringing the toes together, the knees wider, making space to melt the heart down. And reaching through in between your thighs this time and grasping the feet this way. A slightly different version of child's pose. You can put your head to one side if that feels more comfortable. So just breathing, centering. And then releasing the hands back out in front of you. And we're going to come to a seated position, sitting on our sits bones. So finding the little bony parts of the bum, our sits bones, the ischium, and we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. And we're going to kind of peel them open a little bit like we were opening a book, leaves of a book. So we sit up nice and tall. So inhale to lift and open. So have our spine nice and tall, because it's really easy when we're touching our toes to kind of round a little bit. So we're looking for a nice openness. So again, that retracting the shoulder blades can be helpful here. And we're going to imagine that we're like a butterfly on a flower. So this is called butterfly pose or Titali-asana. So we're going to inhale the legs in and exhale them out. So just, you know, when you see a butterfly just like chilling on a flower, we're just going to do that with our legs. And this is going to help to mobilize the hips and the groin in preparation for Baddha Konasana or bound angle pose. Okay, so now we're just going to rest. So bringing your feet further away from the groin if you need to, or bringing them closer in if you've got more flexibility. So again, it really doesn't matter what you do, as long as your body wants it today, as long as it's feeling good for you. So we take our first and middle fingers and our thumb, wrap them around the big toe, sit up nice and tall, and let the thighs move towards the ground. And it can feel like this pose is a really slow work in progress. So we don't need to move the legs here. So what will happen is magically, as we breathe in this pose, then the legs will naturally open, so we don't need to force them. So take a deep inhale, lifting the spine. And as you exhale, you might notice that the glutes, so your bum muscles, relax a little bit. Your inner thighs relax a little bit. So inhale to lengthen, exhale to see where you can let go around the groin, the hip flexors, and you might just really slowly notice a little movement towards the ground, and it might be just minuscule, but the more we can relax the hips and the legs and the bum, the more our hips will open up here. You might close your eyes for a couple of breaths, sense into what's happening in this pose. Enjoy the openness. See where you can soften the body. Releasing the hands from the big toes. Taking the hands and taking them outside of your knees and using your hands to support your knees back up and together. We're going to come back to sit lengthways on our mats now. Again, seeing if you can find your sit bones. Some people like to move the little fatty part of the bum out of the way. It's up to you whether you do that. We're going to bring the hands towards the hips. So placing your hands with the palms down outside of your hips and pull your toes in towards you. So we're going to be rotating from side to side. So I'll show you from an angle. So we're going to inhale and exhale to one side. Inhale to the center, exhale to the other side. Inhale to center, exhale. Inhale, exhale, twist. Inhale, center, exhale, twist. Inhale, exhale. So we're preparing our bodies, so we just come to stillness in the center now. We're preparing our bodies for Ardha Matsyendrasana, half Lord of the Fishes pose. These poses have some funny names. Okay, so we're going to take the left leg and place it over the right leg. So you cross it over so that your left foot is just sort of outside of your right knee. Then we take your right hand and place the elbow just outside of the left knee, like this. So I'll show you on this way. And we take our left hand behind us, like this. Now, if this is a bit much for you, then you can always bend the right leg as well, or if you want a bit more, rather. So we can get an extra glute stretch by doing that. So keep pulling the toes in towards you. Inhale to lift the spine nice and tall, and exhale to rotate. So using the exhalation to see if we can get a little bit more rotation. And keep breathing. So our lungs and our belly are a little bit constricted here because we're in a rotation. So trying to breathe deeply down into the belly. And slowly. Take an inhale, and we're going to exhale and slowly, gently unwind the body. And when we're facing forwards again, picking up the leg and bringing it back across. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. So let's just find ourselves in our Dandasana staff pose first of all. So sitting nice and tall, feet pulled in towards each other. And then we're going to pick up the right leg and take it over the left leg. Right hand back behind you. Left elbow outside of right knee, palm up. If you want a bit more, then you can bend the left leg to get a glute stretch as well. So we're going to inhale, sitting up the spine nice and tall. Exhale to look over the back shoulder. So we're rotating here, opening the chest, the shoulders, the spine. Inhaling, finding that length upwards. Exhaling, seeing if we can find a little more rotation. And you could try pressing the knee and the elbow in towards each other. Seeing if you can slow the breathing. Deep inhale here. Exhale to unwind the spine, letting go of the arm, placing it back outside the left hip. Facing forwards and then unwrapping the legs. So we're going to come into Ananda Balasana. So we're just going to bring our feet towards our bums and then roll back. Let's just have a little Uppanasana, rock and roll here. And then find yourself on your back in Uppanasana. Or you could take your outer edges of your feet, the inner edges of your feet, or your big toes. And we're going to bring our knees towards our armpits. I'm going to show you from this way. So bringing our knees towards our armpits and trying to keep our thighs close to our torso. So you can have a nice still pose here, trying to keep the shoulders in contact with the ground. And you can have a little rock from side to side if that feels good. Move the legs around a bit. Just doing what you feel like you need to do here. And even stretch the legs out for a wide supine, wide leg forward fold here. And then coming back to Ananda Balasana. So bringing the knees towards the armpits. Relaxing the shoulders to let them melt into the ground. Breathe in deeply. And then allowing your legs to come back down towards the ground, soles of the feet towards the ground. Turn the palms upwards and allow the arms to be slightly away from the body. Then slide your legs outwards, a little bit wider than your hips. And we come to Shavasana once more. So this is the final relaxation part of the class. Often called the hardest pose, Shavasana, because it requires you to do nothing. To simply be. So feeling where the breath first enters the body, just allowing your awareness to rest. Maybe the nostrils, the upper lip, the back of the throat. Traveling down in towards the lungs, the belly. And simply letting the breath trickle out of the body slowly and gently. Letting the body be heavy and relaxed. And simply surrender to doing nothing for just these few moments. The soft body cradled by the earth. Feeling the heaviness and density of the contact of the body with the ground. And the lightness of the top of the body. Perhaps you can feel the air touching your skin, perhaps a cool breeze. the texture of any clothing in contact with your skin. You might feel a little tingling in your toes or your fingers, and that's completely normal as we begin to relax, allowing the back of the body to soften and melt into the ground, completely held, completely supported, and relaxing more and more deeply, comfortable and relaxed. Letting the face be soft, the eyelids resting soft in the sockets, jaw relaxed, maybe with the mouth slightly open, soft cheeks, soft throat, soft shoulders and belly, soft buttocks and legs, feet just resting out to the sides, arms draped, resting along the ground, and fingers open and weightless. And taking the next few moments to absorb the practice. Perhaps acknowledging anything you would like to take from this practice to the rest of your day. Beginning to find a little lightness and movement in the fingers and the toes. And if you like, taking a full body stretch of the arms overhead and exhaling the arms back down to the sides. Keeping the eyes closed, rolling over onto one side and making a little pillow with your hands. Resting here for a breath. Again, with the eyes closed, placing the palms of the hands down and supporting yourself up into a seated, maybe a cross-legged position. Rubbing the palms of the hands quickly together, generating warmth in your palms and your fingertips. And when your hands feel nice and warm, placing them over your closed eyelids. Parting the fingers, noticing any light coming in through your closed eyelids, and then blinking them open gently and removing your hands from your face. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me for practice today.